Hello and a very warm welcome to today's class. Hi, I'm Asmita, your IELTS mentor at Vedantu, and yes, we are absolutely ready for yet another live listening test. So you know the drill. You need a piece of paper, a book, a pen, a pencil, whatever, some place to note down your answers, a distraction free environment, all of your focus and attention. For the next 1 hour, we will be listening to the entire audio and solving the test simultaneously. I haven't solved the test beforehand, so I will be doing it live along with you. Once we are done, we are going to tally our answers with the actual answer key and then figure out what band we're all getting. I myself am going to take this test with you and see which band I get. So it's a test for all of us, not just you guys. Hello, welcome to the class. Hi Vic, hi Tanmay, how are you doing? So while you all grab your stuff, I am quickly going to tell you about the student admissions counseling, which those of you who have been with me for the past few weeks, you already know about. For those of you who are joining in for the first time, you're getting free student admissions counseling from Vedantu. Yes, this counseling is absolutely 100% free and also extremely necessary if you wish to get into a good college of your choice. Studying abroad is no easy feat. There are way too many steps involved, and through this counseling, you will get someone who is an expert to help you each step of the way. All right, so make sure you are utilizing this for as long as it's free. Sign up, sit down with your parents, fill out the form, and we can get started. So I am going to give you 2 minutes. That is time until 2:05. So quickly. Yes, Tanmay, you can absolutely apply. The sooner the better. I've always told you that the earlier you start, the more time you have to figure out your different options and make sure you're not missing deadlines. So it is a long, tedious process. You should start as soon as possible. We're starting at 2:05. Grab all of your things. Like I told you, what will you need? You'll need a paper. You will need a pen. Pen? What? Pen. And no distraction. That is the most important part. All right? I'm going to set the mic down for the audio to play. I am ready with my paper and pen. Last time I got a band 9, even though I missed one question. Those of you who are at a band 6.5, I am expecting at least a 7.5 this time. Those of you who are at an 8.5, you don't have much to cover. You can easily get a band 9. All you have to do is focus, listen properly, and it's going to be as easy as ever. All right? Okay. It is 2:05. I am going to set the mic down and get started. So quickly, everybody, get ready.
Test 4. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to section 1. Section 1. You will hear a student talking to a housing officer about living with a homestay family. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Yes, what can I do for you?
My friend is in homestay, and she really enjoys it. So I'd like to join a family as well.
Okay, so let me get some details. What's your name?
My name is Keiko Yuchini.
Could you spell your family name for me?
It's Yuchini. That's Yuichini.
And your first name?
It's Keiko. Keiko.
That's Keiko Yuchini. Okay. And you're female. And your nationality?
I'm Japanese.
Right. And could I see your passport, please?
Here it is.
Okay. Your passport number is JO6337. And you're how old?
I'm 28 years old.
Now, you live at one of the colleges. Which one?
Willow College, room 21C.
Right. 21C Willow College. And how long are you planning on staying with Homestay?
About 4 months. Longer if I like it.
And what course are you enrolled in?
Well, I've enrolled for 20 weeks in the, Advanced English Studies because I need help with my writing. And I'm nearly at the end of my first 5-week course.
Okay. Do you have any preference for a family with children or without children?
I like young children, but I'd like to be with older people. You know, adults, someone around my age.
Okay. And what about pets?
I am a veterinarian, so that's fine. The more the better.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10.
I am not meant to be audible. Ari, you need to be listening to the audio, not to me.
Listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
All right. Now, what about you? Are you a vegetarian or do you have any special food requirements?
No, I am not a vegetarian, but I don't eat a lot of meat. I really like seafood.
And what are your hobbies?
I like reading and going to the movies.
Do you play any sports?
Yes, I joined the handball team, but I didn't like that, so I stopped playing. Now I play tennis on the weekend with my friends.
All right. Let's see. Name, age, now the location. Are you familiar with the public transport system?
No, I'm not really because I have been living on campus. I've been to the city a few times on the bus, but they are always late.
What about the trains?
I like catching the train. They are much faster.
Now, let me go check on the computer and see who I've got. Listen, leave it with me. I'll check my records and I'll give you details this afternoon.
Thank you for helping me.
It's a pleasure. Bye.
Bye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Ari, I think you can refresh if you can't hear me. I don't know how to give you advice. Everybody else, that was quite straightforward and easy. There were a bunch of traps there, but we've done a lot of trap sessions, so you probably knew how to navigate those. Now, part 2 is going to be a monologue. When they give you time to listen, I will move aside and then you can take a look at the questions. Or when they give you time to look at the questions, sorry, not listen.
Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a guide giving a tour of a park. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Welcome to all of you. Can everybody see and hear me? Good. I'm Sally, your guide for this tour of the Bicentennial Park. I hope that you're all wearing your most comfortable shoes and that you can keep up the pace. So, let's get underway on our tour around this wonderful park. I'll start today with some general background information. There used to be a lot of factories in this area until the 1960s. Creating the park required the demolition of lots of derelict buildings on the site, so most of the exciting park space all around you was originally warehouses and storehouses. The idea of building a public park here was first discussed when a property developer proposed a high-rise housing development, but the local community wasn't happy. If the land was to be cleaned up, they wanted to use the site for recreation. Residents wanted open space for outdoor activities rather than housing or even an indoor sports complex. Now, to the Bicentennial Park itself. It has two areas, a nature reserve and a formal park with man-made features and gardens. The tall blue and white building in front of us is called the Tower and is the centre point for the formal gardens. It stands 12 metres high, so follow me up the stairs to where we can take advantage of the fantastic views.
Before you hear the rest of the tour, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20.
I am just going to, if you have trouble reading this, I'm just going to write down what's written by the side so you can tell. This is lake, this is island, this is question 17, this is tower, and you are over here. These are benches, pond, this is question 16, question 15. So wait, what? Where are questions 13, 14? Oh, wait. Okay, 13, 14 were part of this. Never mind. Okay, here we are. Hope you can see everything clearly now. And these are the questions you have to answer. 15, 16, and 17. Okay? That's okay, Tanmay. Even if you missed one, you can still get a band 9. So you just make sure that you don't miss another question, okay? Alright, I'm starting the audio now.
Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
Well, here we are at the top of the tower, and we're going to look at the view from each direction. Out to the east, the large buildings about 1 kilometre away are on the Olympic site. There's an indoor arena for gymnastics, a stadium for track and field, and a swimming pool for races and synchronised swimming, and also diving. If you look carefully down there, you can see the train lines. The Olympic site has its own station to encourage the use of public transport. There is also a car park, but it only holds a limited number of cars. The formal park has some specially created water features. If you look out here to the south, you can see a circular ornamental pond. And around to the west, you can relax and sit on a bench to smell the flowers in the rose garden. And finally, up to the north, if you look in front of you now, there's a lake with a small island in the centre. You can hire rowing boats at the boat shed, which you can't see from here. But if you look through the trees, you can see the cafe, which has lovely views across the water. Okay, let's climb down now. We will go now and have a look at the nature reserve section of the park, which has opened up natural wetland to the public. The mangroves have been made more accessible to visitors by the boardwalk built during the park's upgrade. You'd think that people would come here to look at the unusual plant life of the area, but in fact it's more often used for cycling and is very popular with the local clubs. This is the far end of the park, and over there you can see the frog pond, a natural feature here long before the park was designed. Just next to it we have our outdoor classroom, a favourite spot for school parties. The area is now most often used by primary schools for biology lessons. And finally, let's pass by the waterbird refuge. This area is in a sheltered part of the estuary. That's why the park's viewing shelter is a favourite spot for bird watchers who can use it to spy through binoculars. You can watch a variety of waterbirds, but most visitors expect to see black swans when they come to the shelter. You might spot one yourself right now. Well, here we are back at our starting point, the visitors centre.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Then we will have time to look at part 3, so don't worry. I'll move away when the time comes. This lady spoke really fast.
Section 3. You will hear 2 students discussing a geography presentation they're going to give. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Remind me, Trevor, how long is the presentation?
Dr. White said 3 per hour.
So about 20 minutes.
Well, it'll be 15 minutes per presentation.
And 5 minutes for questions?
And is this one going to be assessed?
No, not this time round, because it's the first one, you know.
Oh, good news.
Well, Trevor, what are we going to include?
Well, do you think we ought to give some historical background?
Oh, no, definitely not. We won't have time.
Okay, but I think we ought to say something about the geographical location, because not a lot of people know where the islands are.
Yes, okay. I'll take notes, shall I?
Yeah, that'd be a help.
So, geographical location?
Then we ought to give an overview of the whole education system.
Shouldn't we say something about the economy? You know, agricultural produce, minerals and so forth?
Well, Dr. White said we shouldn't go into that sort of detail.
But it's pretty important when you think about it, you know, because it does influence the education system.
Look, let's think about that one later, shall we? Let's see how we're doing for time.
Okay, so general overview of education.
Of course. And then the role of English language.
No, that goes in the language policy seminar. Don't you remember?
Are you sure?
Positive.
All right. So those are the topics we're going to be covering.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
We need to think about what to prepare. Dr. White said he wanted us to use plenty of visuals and things, and we might as well try them out when we're not being assessed.
Well, the most important thing is the overhead projector.
No problem. We'll get that from the media room. Must remember to book it.
Well, we'll need a map, of course.
Probably two. One of the islands, large scale.
And one of West Africa.
Well, the West African one is no problem. There's one in the resources room.
Oh, yeah, of course, the resources room. The islands are going to be more of a problem.
Tell you what, there's a very clear map of Santiago in that tourist brochure I showed you last week. Don't you remember it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. We can just use the tourist brochure.
We also need statistics on several different things.
Literacy rates.
Yes, and school places.
How about the encyclopedia?
Nah, not up to date enough.
Why don't we call the embassy?
Oh, someone's enthusiastic.
Well, if something's worth doing.
I know, it's worth doing well. Okay.
We can find out statistics on school places from them as well.
Might as well.
Look, Julie, it's almost time for our tutorials. We can meet again on Monday, but we need to prepare some stuff before then.
That was a complicated accent.
Section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Right. So yeah, like I was saying, that was a complicated accent, but I guess you were able to get the hang of it. If not, then we can practice more with such accents. I have a lot to say about this particular listening test, which I will say once the test is done. Yeah, she was quite, the lady, the map tour lady was quite
Now
fast.
turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture about a chemical substance called monosodium glutamate. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
In today's lecture, I'm going to talk about monosodium glutamate, or MSG as it's more commonly known. Now, MSG, as you probably know, is a flavor enhancer, which is used particularly in Chinese and Japanese cooking. Today, I am going to explore why it is so popular in these cuisines, and more importantly, how does it enhance the flavor of food? The main reason why MSG is more commonly used in Japanese meals is tradition. For many thousands of years, the Japanese have incorporated a type of seaweed known as kombu in their cooking, as they discovered it had the ability to make food taste better. But it wasn't until 1908 that the ingredient in kombu, which was responsible for the improvement in flavor, was actually discovered to be glutamate by scientists working there. From 1908 until 1956, glutamate was produced commercially in Japan by a very slow and expensive means of extraction. It was in 1956 that the speed of the process was improved and industrial production increased dramatically and still continues to increase to this day. In fact, hundreds of thousands of tons of MSG are produced all over the world today. So what exactly is MSG? Well, monosodium glutamate contains 78.2% glutamate, 12.2% sodium, and 9.6% water. Glutamate is an amino acid that can be found naturally in all protein-containing foods. So this includes food such as meat and cheese. It is widely known that Chinese and Japanese food contains MSG, but many people don't seem to be aware that it is also used in foods in other parts of the world. For example, it is found in commercially made Italian pizzas, in American fast food, and in Britain, MSG is used in things like potato crisps. So, how exactly does MSG work? Well, in the Western world, we commonly talk of 4 tastes, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the concepts of sweet, sour, bitter, and salt. Well, in 1908, Kikunae Ikeda identified a 5th taste, and it is thought that MSG intensifies this naturally occurring taste in some food. It does make perfect evolutionary sense that we should have the ability to detect or taste glutamate because it is the amino acid which is most common in natural foods. John Prescott, an associate professor at the University of Chicago, suggests that this 5th taste serves a purpose just as the other tastes do. He suggests that it signals to us the presence of protein in food, in the same way that sweetness indicates that a food contains energy-giving carbohydrates. Bitterness, he says, alerts us to toxins in the food, while sourness warns us of spoilage, and saltiness signals the presence of minerals. So, what else do we know about this 5th taste?
Done.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Alright, so that is the end of this listening test. I was trying to distract you also, just to see if you are easily distracted and giving you a little bit of insight that the taste is called umami, that is intensified by MSG. Anyway, you can post your answers now in the chat and then we can go over the answers. I didn't think it was too difficult. I just felt like some of the speakers were speaking kind of fast. I'll just set my mic 1 second. Yeah, so some speakers I felt were speaking kind of fast. Hopefully I am audible to you guys, right? Yeah. Okay, let's quickly check the answers. Children. Sec. All right. BSc, media room, resources room, see statistics. All right. Time to give the answers. Are we ready? I was able to get all of them right, which I expected because it was kind of easy, this one. So here the one problem I had, or the one thing that I found a little weird, was the woman struggling to sound Japanese. The audio recording had this person and they wanted to sort of give off the impression that the person doesn't know how to speak English properly, but they didn't want to do a stereotypically racist Japanese accent, and so yeah. Okay, here. Who was deliberate? I don't understand what you're saying. Okay, she spelled out her family name and then she also spelled out her first name, which was Kiko. Passport number was also. So the passport, this happened very slowly, but the passport number he said really fast. So I hope you were able to catch that. It was J06337. Then the address, they took a long time saying this. Then the length of the homestay was approximately 4 months. What course was she enrolled in? Advanced English Studies. You can write 3 words, so here that is fine. Family preference, she wanted no children, but she had no objections to pets. Sounds like me. Okay, what does the student particularly like to eat? She said she doesn't eat a lot of meat, but she likes seafood. Then what sport does she play? First she was like, I play handball. So I wrote down handball. Then she said, but I hated it. So then I crossed out handball. And then she said, I played tennis. So tennis is the answer. Backtracking happened there. What mode of transport? Again, she said, I take the bus. She was like, but I hate the bus. So what does she prefer? Train. When will the student find out her homestay address? The dude said this afternoon. So I wrote down this afternoon. I guess afternoon also works as an answer, right? If you only said afternoon. Okay. Very good. SWA food or seafood. Yes, very good, Tanmay. So I'm sure all of you were able to get 10 out of 10 here, hopefully. Moving on to the next set of questions. What kind of tour was Sally leading? It was a walking tour. Sally spoke really fast. And she seemed like she didn't like her job and she didn't really want to give this tour, but that's fine. The original buildings on the site were supposed to be industrial building, warehouses and stuff. Local residents wanted to use this. So first, some dude decided that they'll make a housing complex at the site, but the locals objected. And then they said that we want a park there, so that we just need a space where we can have fun, enjoy a little, so leisure. Then the tower is at the center of the formal gardens. All right. Next, here you had to label the plan. I'll use a different color. So first, so this was given. I forgot to label this, but I think you all know your north, south, east, west. So that shouldn't have been much of a problem. You missed 13. 13, the local residents. Okay. So here they had a bit of a conversation. First, she was explaining how they wanted to make a housing complex there. So you might think, okay, apartment blocks is the answer. I also wrote down B. But then she said the residents wanted a place where they could spend time, like a garden or something, and so leisure became the answer. All right. Okay. Here first we went towards the east. There she talked about the train tracks, talked about these different areas, and finally after the station came the car park, which she said had limited parking. Then we went over here south. All right, so here you, even if you didn't know the direction, you just had to follow the sequence of the questions. 15 first, then 16, then 17, right? So even if you didn't know the direction she was talking about, you knew that, okay, I have to answer 15 first, then 16, then 17. It will only go in that order, no other order, right? So here then at 16 was the rose garden beside the pond, and next to the island over here, hidden behind the trees, was the cafe. All right. Now here, how did everybody use these different spaces? The mangroves was meant to be for something else, but people usually use it for cycling. Here, the primary school takes biology lessons. And what was this? This was a viewing shelter. Right? And here, bird watching took place. Coming to this, no more than one word and or a number. This was easy. There will be 5 minutes for questions. The presentation will not be assessed. Right? And he was like, oh, thank God it's not being assessed. So, quite easy, this one. Then here, they had a conversation of whether definitely include meant A, might include meant B, will not include meant C. So, first he said geographical location definitely including. Then he said economy. First he said overview of education system definitely including. He mentioned this twice. Right, so even if you missed it the first time, not assessed, assessed. Assessment, assessed means checked or graded, assessed. That's the word. Okay, this is the spelling of the word, not what you have written, Tanmay. So be careful. You should know this word to be able to write it correctly. If you write it incorrectly, you will lose marks. To assess something means to check it, examine it and grade it. So here will not be assessed means will not be checked or graded. Okay, so here first geographical location included, then he said we'll also include the overview of the education system. Then she was like, wait, but don't we need to talk about the economy, etc., etc. And then he said, but our professor asked us not to go. So they had a little bit of a back and forth discussion. And then he was like, we'll just decide later. Let's think about this later. That means they might include it. They are not sure yet. So this became B. Then again she mentioned or he mentioned that overview of education system will be included. So that is A. And finally, role of English language. She said that it is not to be included because that will come under the linguistics presentation. And he was like, are you sure? And she said, yes, professor told us that it's going to come under the other presentation. So here the answer became C. Next. Again, we needed no more than 2 words here. Where were they getting the projector? Media room. This was resources room. Then we came here, literacy figures. First they were like, well, let's get from here. And it's like, why don't we just get from the embassy? So the way he pronounced it was a bit weird. So a lot of you must have missed it. I guessed that he was talking about the embassy. So I wrote it down, and here statistics on school places, again from the embassy, right? Final set of answers. This was easy about MSG. So what was going to be the primary point of the conversation, the way MSG works. They said this talk will mainly revolve around the way it works. 1908, scientists in Japan, what did they do? They identified glutamate as the primary ingredient in kombu. So C is your answer. What change occurred in the manufacture of glutamate in 1956? So they said from 1908 to 1956, something was happening, but in 1956 specifically, the manufacturing increased a lot, right? And it's still increasing. So A becomes your answer. Here, again, we could write only 2 words. So 9.6% of water it contains. Glutamate is found in foods that contain protein such as meat and cheese. MSG is used in foods mainly in many different parts of the world, and then he talked about how pizza has MSG, chips has MSG, etc., etc. And then in 1908, Kikunei Ikeda discovered what? A fifth taste, right? And our ability to detect glutamate makes sense because it is so common. It is commonly found, common naturally. Then John Prescott talked about how different tastes actually act as indicators of certain things. So in this case, sweetness tells us that a food contains carbs. And 39, blank tells us that a food contains toxins. It was bitterness. Sourness told us that food went bad. And finally, saltiness tells us that a food contains minerals, right? This I only wrote to distract you. Okay? And I was also telling you that the fifth taste is called umami. Okay. H2O. You have to write water. Alright, tell me your score. I was able to get 40 out of 40. So that puts me at a band 9. You have to tell me your score. If you got 39 to 40, you're also at a band 9. 37 to 38, band 8.5. Alright, 35 to 36, you're at a band 8. I don't know, did anyone get below a band 8? One missed and one spelling wrong, so you got 2 wrong. You are 37 to 38, band 8.5, Tanmay. Band 8.5. Alright, great job everyone. Everybody leave your score in the comments. If you have any doubts, if you don't know why a particular answer was correct or wrong, you can ask me in the comments. I will let you know. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, attend all the classes. I say this every day, so you know what to do by now if you still haven't done it. So please go ahead, share the video with your friends, keep practicing, and we're going to do a speaking test tomorrow. So just how we did a listening test today, speaking test tomorrow, then another listening test, then another speaking test. And I want your brand. What was that meme? Bobby brand. I want your band to increase with each test, okay? So if you are stuck somewhere, you don't know why your band is not going up, what is the problem, that's what these classes are for. So you have to tell me in this class, okay? One sec. 35 you got means you are at a band 8. Aryan got a band 8. So 30, I'll tell you, 39 to 49, 37 to 38, 8.5, 35 to 36, 8, 32 to 34, 7.5, 30 to 31, 7, 26 to 29, 6.5, and 23 to 25 is a band 6. Okay? Aryan, 35 correct means band 8. You got a nice, good band. You want to increase by 0.5 with each class. Okay? Alright, thank you so much everybody. I will see you. Take care. Bye-bye.